while. All right, folks, welcome to the Short Vol Live show. My name is David Lincoln, and we are on the eve of expiration and just working on my little Suzanne Vega riff there for you as we are already into the trading day a little bit today. But I just wanted to go over, I've come up with sort of a theory moving into this expiration, and my theory has been pretty much rejected by other VIX people out there, including most people online. So I might be wrong in this one. We'll have to wait and see. But my theory being that we'll see when we look at the term structure here. Let's go to the term structure really quickly for the VIX. And when we look at the term structure, my theory is that we are going to see October move below November pretty quickly here. So let's get my mug off the screen and take a look at the term structure here. Okay, so my theory is that as we approach expiration, if you look on the chart, you can see, all right, there's a steep line between September and October, right? That would be us being in steep contango, which has been kind of the case all month. But then when you look between October and November, you see we're downsloping. It's in backwardation. And indeed, if you look at the bottom of the chart here, it shows we are in 2% backwardation. My theory is that these 2 months are going to switch as tomorrow morning's expiration, right? And after September's out of the mix, November futures are going to come into the mix. And we're going to start seeing them every day roll a little bit of the October position. And remember, as we come into expiration, UVXY and VXX are all going to be based entirely on this October future, which, as you can see, is very far away from the VIX right now. It's like 5 points away from the VIX right now. And by expiration of October, these two have to converge. Now, we don't know if the VIX will move up to meet the future or the future will move down to meet the VIX. However, we have been in this very steep contango for a good period of time now. And to switch to backwardation here, that's what's going to happen if the term structure stays the same. Now, my contention is that the pressure of the roll having to be undertaken. So all of these UVXY and VXX have to buy no futures and sell October futures against them. Moving forward, that process will force the October future below the November future. And so I undertook a little poll on Twitter, and largely you, the viewer, disagreed with me on this. So if we pull up the poll here, we can see that it did not actually end up in my here, because here's the poll results, and we've got 45% of you saying no, David, the October future will not be priced lower than November by Friday. 39% say yes, and 15% are probably people that are following me but aren't traders who are saying Michael VIX, which is a stupid joke of mine. So largely you disagree with my analysis of things here. And as often is the case when people disagree with me, there's a good chance that I could be just wrong. All right. So then we're going to look at Vance Harwood's tweet from from yesterday. And he's talking about why the future is higher in October than November coming into the election. And he says right here, if you're wondering why the election risk is causing the VIX futures to peak in October rather than November, it's because VIX futures, like the VIX, are based on an SPX option price with 30 days until expiration. OCC future will settle on October 21st based on the November SPX option prices that AM. And he continues to talk more about the math about this. Okay, so I understand all that, but my contention is that that doesn't get us past the fact that we will not know the results of the election when the October future expires. And regardless of what the VIX represents, I can't get past the fact that we will not know the results of the election when the October future expires. So and that combined with the fact that all these funds essentially have to buy this calendar, the Nov-Oct calendar spread. My contention is that is going to force the October future below November, and my contention is that will happen before Friday. Now, we'll see if I'm right. And usually when it's a situation where, like, everybody else is on one side and I'm on the other side of this thought process, that usually ends up in me being wrong. But we'll see if by Friday, my contention is the October future will be below November by Friday. Just due to the roll and whatnot. And even though this does represent 30 days out, you can't get past the fact that we will not know the results of the election when the October future expires. Thus, the risk is going to be contained in the November future from my contention. And I understand the theoretical arguments and everything, but I disagree with the reality of trading is just that we will not know the results of the election when October expires, and thus I'm a seller of October, and I think it's going to come in. So we'll see what happens. Let's go to the market for a second here, and you know what's notable to me. I wonder what's notable to you. What do you see when you look at the market today? What's the most notable thing to you? Is anybody out there alive in chat? Is my chat even set up here? Let's see. Live chat. Yeah, it's set up. Anybody out there? I'll give you a second to respond, then I'll tell you what's the most obvious thing in the market for me right at the moment here. And I'm trying to bring up another window to see if my chat is working a little bit better here. There we go. You are such a goober. Drop, please. All right, so I see the chat now coming up. It's weird, it's not coming up on my other screen. Anyways, what's evident to me right now in this market right now is that the VIX is only down 14 cents with the market really rallying here. We've got E-minis up 27, SPX up 26, and VIX only down 11 cents. So that seems like stuff is holding up pretty well as far as the VIX is concerned at the moment here in the marketplace. I'm a goober. Is that good or bad? You know what I really don't like? When everyone likes to name these channels like nerd, like nerdtronic, nerd this, like nerd is like a cool thing. Even I was watching the Joe Bonamassa video about his guitars, and he calls it Nerdville. I don't like the word nerd. Anyways, so we're seeing VIX hold up pretty well at the moment, and I don't know if that's because there's going to be a floor under the VIX here. Again, I was on the other side of a discussion with somebody yesterday where they were showing kind of support in the VIX. I'll try to see if I can pull that one up really quick as I talk to you here. But my contention is that this stuff's gonna continue to move lower. That we've seen the VVIX is down to 109 now, and we've had a couple days of a pretty big rally. Let me pull up this tweet that I was having a discussion with this guy, and we can get your opinion on this other contention. He was talking about how he was doing technical analysis on not any of the VIX ETPs, but the actual VIX chart, and talking about the VIX chart. And so here's my kind of discussion with him. Here's his tweet. Check this out. Okay. So let me get out of the way. So he's saying daily ribbon moving averages slowly crossed up meaningfully, currently at a potential inflection point. Momentum indicator also turned positive for the first time since March. So he pulled up this chart here, and he's saying that essentially that the VIX is, could bounce off this point because of these indicators. And while I will concede that doing technical analysis on the VIX chart is more valid than doing technical analysis on VIX ETPs, because the VIX chart is not based on an average of futures, it's based on a strip of options, I still don't see it as all that meaningful because there's no supply and demand directly for the VIX. There's no way to actually trade the VIX specifically. And yes, there's supply and demand for the many different option strikes that are involved with the VIX, but the fact that there's so many different strikes and that this is kind of like a derivative of the SPX makes it kind of too far removed for me to be all that meaningful. But regardless of that, what I like to do when I'm trying to analyze kind of the VIX and what we have going on right now is I like to pull up the SPX and look at the options volatility levels for different options at different expirations. So a lot of times when we're in a downtrending VIX, you'll see, now the VIX, just to refresh your memory, I'm sure most of you know this, but it's based on 30 days out. So if we look at SPX options and we look at the implied volatility average 30 days out, it should be very close to the number that the VIX. So, and indeed we look 25.59 and the VIX 25.57. So right on there. But a lot of times when we're trending lower, we'll see that these weeks before, or these, I'm sorry, the options that expire before 30 days can be dramatically lower than the 30 days. In fact, you'll see a lot of times like, well, the front week is like 10, then the, 10 days out is like 13, 20 days out is like 15, and so on and so forth up to 25. But when we're trending lower. But right now you can see most of the option prices in the SPX are pretty much very similar to the 30-day option prices. And as we go farther out in time, indeed, the prices are moving higher. And that's due to, once again, the election coming up. And you'll see they move higher out in time. So the fact that all of these expiries ahead of the 30-day expiry are kind of in the same range, we see 26%, 24, 21, 25, leads me to believe that yes, indeed, the VIX could stay around this area for a little while. If these were all like way lower, like 10, 15, then that would make me feel that there was more pressure to push this lower. But as we know, regardless of where the VIX stays, if we're staying in a contango situation, then these products will continue to decay. Now, that contango situation is very much in the air at the moment because, of course, getting back to where we started here today, the VIX term structure is into backwardation as soon as expiration occurs, which is tomorrow morning. So it's going to be an exciting week. Once again, my contention is that we will pop back into contango relatively quickly between October and November. Now, part of this is going to depend on what the market does. Obviously, if we get a big sell-off here, then all bets are off. If we get a big sell-off and the VIX cash just rushes up to meet this future, like let's say we get a big sell-off tomorrow and the VIX goes to 30. Well, all of a sudden, we're just going to be in straight backwardation, and that's it, right? Because the VIX would be above all these futures. But if things kind of just go along like they have been, and we get either a rally or sideways market, this is a wide spread on expiration between October and the VIX spot. Now, I was having a debate with people like 2 years ago. Someone was saying, well, the average price for the spread between the front month, what is to become the front month future, that being October, and spot, the average spread after expiration, right after expiration, is usually like a little over 2 points, like let's say 2.4 points. So right now, the spread between these two is around 5 points. So that's very wide. Now, is it just going to be that there's going to be such a bid in the futures that's so much higher than the VIX, leading all the way up to expiration of October? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I just don't see that happening. I see people kind of giving up on October at some point ahead of the election. Now, we've got, obviously, debates. The race has, as far as I understand, the race has tightened a little bit. I saw a report yesterday saying that Biden now only has a 5-point lead nationally, and that you know, it all comes down to those swing states. But we'll have to see what happens. Obviously, there's big presidential debates coming up. It was exciting to see yesterday. They were kicking around that idea that maybe, you know, they would go on Joe Rogan. I'm a huge Joe Rogan fan, so I would love that. But I don't see that happening. I don't see Biden's people putting him on Joe Rogan for 4 hours. First of all, Joe Rogan has, just to give you the backstory on Joe Rogan, he had Bernie Sanders come on his program and was a supporter of Bernie Sanders early on in the race. And he actually, a lot of people changed their mind on Bernie Sanders after watching him on Joe Rogan's show. And Joe came out, though, as soon as Biden got the nomination, Joe came out and said, oh, well, you know, Biden's not all there. He's got some cognitive issues. And so when somebody, one of Joe Rogan's guests 2 days ago mentioned, well, you should have them debate, Joe said, someone tweeted about that, and then the president came on and said, yeah, let's do it. I think that Biden would definitely not do that because Joe's already come out as kind of anti-Biden. Now, he's not necessarily pro-Trump, but he's anti-Biden. So that's kind of the deal. All right, so I'm having a little bit of problem reading all of your messages right now. I want to say hi to everybody. Hey, Edward, thank you for becoming a member. You didn't have to do that. I could have maybe sponsored your membership. I don't really know how to do that, but thank you for your support, Edward. Welcome to everybody. Hey, what's up, Spencer? Dewey Jones, 188 Masses. Post-election Trump plan. Yeah, so who knows what's going to happen with the election? It's getting closer and closer. So as far as the spread between the candidates. What does this say? Deleted message. You can, Edward, you can let 188 Masses message go through if you want. That's fine. Hey, what's up, Brent? Welcome, everybody. All right, so that's kind of where we are right now. Coming into expiration tomorrow, we'll see what happens. Just to state the obvious, this spread between the VIX and the October future has to narrow at some point. Now, whether that be that the VIX rushes up to meet the future or the future comes down to meet the VIX remains to be seen. But in the meantime, we are waiting to see if these futures will arrange themselves into contango as October and November come on, as the futures, I guess I should say, as November comes on in the mix here, or if they stay in backwardation. My contention is that we will arrange into contango. We did see that that level of backwardation decrease yesterday. Coming into yesterday, we were at like 4-point-something% backwardation between October and November. Now we're around 2.73%. It will be interesting to see what happens moving forward, but I suspect that we will be relatively flat. And if in the absence of a down move in the market here, of some violence, I expect OCT to start curling lower and lower. And it will be really interesting in like 2 weeks as the pressure starts to build on October as we get closer to that next expiration. We're always looking forward to the next expiration, but this has been a beautiful, beautiful couple weeks for the short vol crowd, because we have been in a contango that has been maxed out for almost this whole cycle. If we go here to Edward's favorite chart, we can see if we isolate this last year, it's been just a fascinating year in that we had one of the longest periods of backwardation that we've ever seen in the relatively short VIX history, and then we've built into this contango situation since then. Now, when we look at this chart, of course, what obviously comes to mind is that we never seem to stay too long in one shape, right? You can see this just bouncing up and down, and we expect that to happen again. In fact, even if we do arrange ourselves into contango fairly rapidly after expiration, this chart is still going to rip down towards that red line right away as soon as expiration occurs tomorrow, right? Because even if we went into like 2% contango or something like that, that's still going to bring this number way down. So so look for that chart to change as we hit expiration here. But it will be fascinating to see what happens here, because this is a unique situation. We've been looking at this bump in the chart for months and months and months and months coming up to the election, and it will be fascinating to see how this plays out. Now, for some people who aren't market participants, this is like as exciting as watching paint dry. But for us VIX folks, this is really exciting to see what happens with the term structure coming into this election and expiration tomorrow. So we haven't had last year and the year before, there were a lot of shenanigans coming into expiration. And what I mean by that is we had these moves in the VIX right at expiration and the futures like bouncing all over the place. Now, just to stress the point that we always make when we talk about expiration, expiration is largely moot for you if you're trading UVXY or VXX, because the products are no longer made up of that future that's expiring, right? That future is out of the equation. So it's really only of interest to those of us who are kind of like inside baseball VIX watchers to see actually what happens on expiration. Either that, or if you actually do have a position in the futures, which most people don't have, especially in retail. So we like to get all jazzed up about moves that happen right on expiration in the VIX, but for most of us trading UVXY or VXX, it's moot, because once again, these products are made mostly of the October future. But I would just remind you to think in your head, if you are either long or short UVXY or VXX, you need to remember that you are not long or short a 25 VIX. You are long or short a 31 future. And that's a big difference. 31, when you think about the VIX having an average, let's just use 20 as an average in the VIX, 31 versus 25 is a big difference. And if you're trading to the long side, you're going to need a significant move for stuff to stay up there and to justify being long a 31 future. And to the short side, you've got some edge if you're short this stuff, because these two have to converge. Now, it's certainly possible that this could spike, but even if it spikes, these products are not going to move up as much as they would if the futures and spot were right next to each other, because it's almost like there's a shock absorber, right? Imagine a truck and you've got this big shock absorber between the wheel up here and the body of your truck. If we get a pop up, the space between these two is going to absorb a lot of the move, and you're not going to see that big of a move in UVXY or VXX, because this distance here, it forms sort of a cushion to that absorbs a lot of the move. So instead of an up move in the VIX translating into VXX and UVXY moving up, it just translates into a reduction in the spread here. A lot of it. So these are things that you need to know, because when and if we do get a spike or a pop in volatility and we see the VIX move up 3 points and VXX and UVXY barely move up, all these people are going to come online to StockTwits or wherever and say, oh, what a scam, the market maker's ripping everyone off, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you can know in your mind, no, it's not a scam. That's due to the fact that the term structure is going to absorb any sort of shock pretty well right now. Now, if we were to get like 2, 3 days, 4 days of down moves, and we get several disruptive events where the VIX keeps popping, we would use up the spread, and at some point we would, we would have used up that cushion. But at this point, we are in a situation where there is a built-in cushion for any sort of spike. And that's just due to the fact that people are so nervous about the election that they've bid up these futures, and they're higher up than the VIX. And when we look at this chart, that's what you should see, is that, wow, this future is way higher than the VIX. That's got to mean something. And what it means is that there's a bid for options in the S&P 500. And we could debate why that is, but it's clear that there's a big bid. That's why there's this $5 spread between spot and the futures moving forward. So I'm looking tomorrow and the next day and the days moving forward for this AUK future to move below the NOV to as the roll starts to happen and as people realize that, well, even though October future expiration represents 30 days out, we will not know the results of the election before October rolls off the sheets. And I think that's going to become clearer and clearer to people, and we will see this AUK future, that people start to give up on it at some point, and the NOV will reign supreme and the AUK will move lower. That's my contention. We'll see if I'm right or wrong. And like I said, a lot of people are kind of against me on this one, and kind of believe that, well, it's going to stay in backwardation for an extended period of time. For me, I think we'll move out of it quickly, but wait and see what actually happens. Usually when I'm on one side of things and a lot of people are on the other side of things, I end up being wrong. So we'll have to wait and see. All right, so thanks everybody for watching. I apologize that my comment stuff and actually being able to visualize your commentary is not working so well today. I'm not quite sure why that is, but I do appreciate everybody's participation. Let's see if I can actually find this one more time here. If you're short UVXY, it can always, of course, be painful if the market drops. That's, yes, but it'll be less painful than it would. Learn how to, KS says, learn how to trade, schmuck. Dave, I can teach you how to trade. Oh, thanks, KS. That's cool. Any view about Amazon, Tesla, and Walmart? You're talking my book, too. I don't have a view on Tesla and Walmart. I thought it was amazing, though, the rally in Tesla yesterday. It was up almost $45. And if you translate that to pre-split, you could multiply that by 5. So Tesla's still moving around quite a bit. And I suspect part of the reason the VIX is not down lower today is actually we have had big moves to the upside. And as you know, volatility is not just to the downside, it's to the upside too. And when you get these bigger percentage moves, then it does justify the VIX. Even though we're not getting a down move, when you get a big up move, it does justify the VIX being at a somewhat elevated level. I still don't think it justifies a 25, but we'll have to wait and see what happens moving forward. Well, welcome, Brent, back to this continent. Safe travels, and it'll be cool to have you back on this continent. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And best of luck moving forward. We'll see what happens on this expiration. Thank you, Edward, for your moderation. And everybody else, the major news media is talking about Tesla. Let's pull up really quickly, see what's going on here. I saw an article the other day where it was talking about Elon Musk going to Mars pretty soon with people. Sign me up, man. I'll jump on a ship to Mars. It sounds like fun to me. So this big battery day thing is coming. Cool. I will leave it to others to discuss Tesla, and I'll stick to the VIX. All right. Thanks to everybody for watching. And do you know how to trade, David? Not. Why is everybody saying I don't know how to trade? So anyways, just to give you a little history, I was a SIBO market maker for many years, and I traded as a equity options market maker at the SIBO for 12 years, and then I traded bond in the 10-year bond pit very briefly, and I was a market maker in the 30-year bond pit at the CBOT for a little while, and you know, they don't let you stand there and keep trading for 10 years if you don't know something about trading. So, so I know a little thing about trading options. I appreciate the offers to teach me how to trade and all that stuff. And anyways, thanks for watching, everybody. You know, we all have our strengths and weaknesses in life, and I would recommend to people who are thinking about something in finance, you only need to learn about a specific area of finance and become an expert on one little teeny area to be successful as a trader. And I encourage you to explore different things in the trading world. This channel is mostly about the VIX, but there's all kinds of other parts in the trading world to explore. And you kind of want to find something that kind of suits your skill set or your personality. And I hope people who are watching this make a ton of money. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. And somebody roll that closing credits. Here we go.
You're watching Famous Dave.